What's going on, everybody? Top 10 Pokemon back, bringing you another top Pokemon card auctions of the week recap. And folks, the market, it just gets healthier and healthier by the day. Today we'll be reviewing the never-ending rise in prices for a lot of modern, both graded cards and sealed product. The sky seems to be a limit for a lot of these items. And we'll also be going over some PSA 10 first edition base set holos sales towards the end of this video. Lots of interesting stuff. The market is just booming. So thank you so much for tuning in today. You're really going to enjoy today's recap. Today's auction recap sponsor is the one and only KantoShark.com. After you watch this recap today, head over to KantoShark.com, where they have a great variety of not only high-end vintage and modern Pokemon slabs available, but also some fantastic pieces of sealed product as well. These listings right here, folks, have sold very recently on KantoShark.com. But don't worry, because their inventory is ever expanding with an amazing variety of gold stars and crystal cards available for sale. With worldwide shipping and payment plans available for anything above $500, you need to go check out KantoShark.com. I will link their website in the description of this video. Go check out what they have for you and let me know what you pick up. Let's get started off with this auction recap with arguably the hottest card in the past 3 years, the Umbreon VMAX, all art from Evolving Skies. Continues to go up, up, up in value. Here is a PSA 10 that sold for $1,550, and then again for $1,600, and then again for $1,625, and then again for $1,775, and then finally we saw a sale as a PSA 10 for $1,800, and then we also saw a CGC 10 pristine example of this card sell for $2,128. So it seems like regardless of the population, whether it's PSA, CGC, regardless of how many 10s are being graded, the price continues to go up. Where is the ceiling for this card? We'll keep watching it, right? And then here is another card that has a ton of copies making record sales. It's the PSA 10 Pikachu Van Gogh promo card. One had sold for $345, while another one sold this week for $380, so almost $400 for this promo card. And it makes me wonder, where's all the black labels for this card? You know, it would be crazy to see a black label example come through an auction. I can only imagine the price that puppy would hit. Up next, we have several very awesome modern card sales. Here is a Greninja EX special illustration rare from Twilight Masquerade that sold this week for an even $700. Here is the Mewtwo GX from Shining Legends. One of the best modern cards of all time, if you ask me, sold as a PSA 10 for $910. So, almost a four-figure card as a PSA 10. And then, speaking of four-figure cards, here is a Giratina V alt art from Lost Origin. Sold this week for $1,225. I just can't believe this market. But let's not stop there, folks. Here we have the Mew EX SIR from Paldean Fates. This sold for $600, and then again for $610 as a PSA 10. And then finally, we have one card from the XY era. It is the Mega Rayquaza EX from Ancient Origins that sold for $1,378 this week. And then a couple of very expensive Japanese card sales on eBay. Here is a BGS 10 Black Label Japanese Charizard EX from the Ruler of Flame set that sold for $3,900. And then we saw the sale of this Master Scroll 8600 point promo card in PSA 10 that sold for $15,600. Up next, we have some interesting sealed product sales. Here is what looks like 10 of the Costco 5-pack mini tin 151 bundles they have going on that sold for $660. And I do believe these cost, I think, like $40 a piece at Costco or at most Costco. So really, this is a $400 lot of cards selling for $660. But man, I just saw a video very recently on Instagram of people rating a Costco pallet of these things. It's unbelievable what people lose their minds over items like this. Man. Here we have a 151 Elite Trainer box that is very close to reaching $100 in value. Here is one that sold for about $98. And then here is a lot, or a box of 10 of them that sold for $880 plus shipping, so about $90 a box. And then it's worth mentioning the Pokemon Center version of this box sold for about $210 this week. Up next are a couple of Evolving Skies boxes that sold. Here's one that sold for $850, another one for $817, another one for $840. Here we have a Team Up booster box that sold for $2,882. Almost $3,000 for this Sun and Moon Team Up booster box. Mind blown. And then we're going to finish off this recap with a couple of high-end vintage sales from Fanatics Collect. Here is the PSA 10 First Edition Poliwrath from base set. Definitely the lower tier holo from that set that sold for $4,080. This First Edition Raichu sold for $6,900. This First Edition Clefairy sold for $8,400. And this Hitmonchan sold for an even $9,000. And then this First Edition Gyarados sold for $9,300. So not much movement here with the First Edition PSA 10 base set cards, which is hilarious because the modern cards are just through the roof. Here are a couple of Neo card sales. Here is a Pichu First Edition PSA 10 holo from Neo Genesis that sold for $9,600. And then a First Edition Shining Charizard sold for $10,500. And then here we have a 2009 Japanese Melee Scramble Eevee card in PSA 9, sold for $13,800. And then a couple of Gold Star sales. Here is a Gold Star Mewtwo in PSA 10 that sold for $3,600, while this Gold Star Latios from EX Deoxys sold for a whopping $31,800 as a PSA 10. And then I got three interesting base set Charizard sales. Here is a CGC 10 Pristine First Edition Glorak that sold for $6,216. Here is a PSA 10 Unlimited base set Charizard that sold for $10,575. And then the auction of the week would have to go to this PSA 10 First Edition base set Charizard with the NBA Gold Diamond stamp on it that sold for $208,950. This was a sale on alt auctions, and it is the auction of the week. That concludes the auction recap, folks. Don't forget to go check out KantoShark.com and show them your support. And it also supports the channel when you do. Leave a like, leave a comment. That's all I got. I'll catch you in my next one.